Mr. B XRP here, and welcome back. I have a jam-packed video for you today and right now. I've gone through so many Swell clips and Swell videos to bring you what I think so far are the best ones. So we're going to do that. Before we do, let's take a look at the market. XRP sitting at $2.26. So let's jump over to Coin Paprika. And Bitcoin's at $103,246. Ethereum's at $3,379. Tether is holding comfortably at $1. And XRP is at $2.26 on Coin Paprika. So let's jump into it. Let's see here. Brad Garlinghouse made an announcement this morning at Swell, and let's dip into what the announcement was.
Morning, everybody. Great to be here. Day 2 of Swell. Honored to be here with Patrick Witt. Before we get started, well, first of all, I'll say it's fun for me to be the interviewer versus the interviewee. So I just get to sit here and ask questions, which is fun for me.
I'm in the hot seat today.
In the hot seat for sure. So before we do that, I just want to take a minute, and this is the 9th Swell, which the very first one that was in Toronto. We have come so far from maybe 100 people was in a warehouse on the outskirts of Toronto. But in addition to acknowledging some of the stuff that Ashish pointed out happened overnight, earlier this morning, Ripple announced a $500 million investment from led by Fortress and Citadel, some of the biggest names in finance. And so, although we're not talking about that today, at least I wanted to acknowledge that so that people are aware that we're not just ignoring it. It is nice to take a moment to see kind of how far we've come.
Wow, that puts Ripple at a $40 billion valuation. And that valuation, my understanding is, doesn't take into consideration any of the value of the actual XRP that they hold in escrow and on their balance sheet. None of that valuation takes that into consideration as far as I know. And then they put out, Ripple had put out this statement also. They said we've closed $500 million strategic investment on a $40 billion valuation led by Fortress Investment Group and Citadel Securities, 95 billion plus in total Ripple payments volume, 1 billion RL USD stablecoin market cap, 6 strategic acquisitions completed in just over 2 years, 25% of shares repurchased, 3 times growth in Ripple Prime business, and 75 regulatory licenses globally. This is the momentum building the internet of value. Wow, it's unbelievable how fast they are growing. They are an absolute monster. Okay, so another video of Brad Garlinghouse. This is Brad interviewing the executive director of the President's Council of Advisors for Digital Assets. That is some title, but let's listen in. This is a real good one, and it's Patrick Witt is the executive director.
You are in a very interesting seat. You're seeing lots of things. I think it would have been difficult, as you just described, to predict certain outcomes of how the internet has evolved. And the Telecom Dereg Act clearly didn't think of everything, but yet here we are with it. You can, on demand, use a mobile device over IP networks to have ice cream delivered on stage, probably. Sounds kind of good. But I'm curious, make a prediction or two. It could, whether it's policy based, I guess maybe I'll try to put you on the spot and predict when will we get a market structure bill through. But also, I'm curious on your kind of crypto predictions more broadly. And I realize I'm putting you on the spot. That's a hard thing to know given everything with the shutdown and what have you. But you guys are doing good work there, and I think I'm an optimist. So,
yeah.
Anyway, predictions for the industry.
I think as far as the market structure bill goes, we are maintaining, before the end of the year, the president wants that piece of legislation on his desk, so we're continuing to apply pressure, having regular meetings. I spend most of my time on Capitol Hill these days, meeting with senators from both sides of the aisle to get that done. I'm optimistic that we've seen enough progress recently to where the trend line is moving in the right direction, and I think we're going to get a good piece of legislation done and over to the president for signature in short order.
We heard it here. By the end of the year, we're in.
There you go. And the other thing I would say, maybe I'll take an easy out. I'm not going to predict, I'm
not going to be the hard-charging interviewer.
Yeah,
I've been on the receiving end too many times.
Yeah, right. I would just say the future is very bright for this industry, and there are companies that are going to sprout up here in the space that probably aren't even in existence yet. And there's going to be just amazing, efficiencies unlocked. It's going to integrate into the existing financial system. Stable coins are going to proliferate around the globe. So I think you're going to be talking about, a market cap into the, tens of trillions, even beyond what it is right now, 4
Tens
or
of
5
trillions.
So,
Come on, let's go.
There's going to be growth. There's going to be a lot of innovation in the space, and there's going to be a lot of players that come into existence that aren't even concepts right now.
Yeah. Well,
I love it. Tens of trillions. Let's go. Let's go. I absolutely love it. And this is word on the street from Ripple Swell. This is the Kwok brothers. Here they are.
Hey everyone, it's your favorite brothers, Phil and Dom. And we are here at Ripple Swell. It's absolutely electric, absolutely buzzing. It's unlike any other normal conference, invite only. It is just packed with institutions who are excited about this technology. I'm going to hand over the phone to Dom to explain a little bit more about it.
We've had an absolutely amazing day so far. Monica Long kicked off everything. Right early this morning, we've had the SVP of product working on Ripple stablecoins, just celebrate hitting $1 billion in issuance. We've had the chairman of the NASDAQ speak as well, so it's been an action-packed day.
These guys always seem to be having a good time. They bring such amazing energy to the XRP community, and it's a breath of fresh air for sure. Bitwise CEO at Ripple Swell, and this is what he had to say.
Everyone should be unbelievably excited. After XRPL and XRP are over 13 years old, the crypto space is maybe 15 years old. It's all happening now. This space for the first time is going mainstream in 2025. Part of going mainstream means that there are people coming on board, incredible institutions here at Swell who are building services, integrating, but they're mainstream by definition because they're doing other things also. And that means for them, a month is super fast, a quarter is fast. And so I think in the crypto space, the timeframes that people are familiar with are just getting pushed out. And there's a little bit of relearning how to interpret the news flow as a byproduct. But I will unequivocally say we've been around for 7-8 years now. I have never seen it feel as inevitable as it does right now in this year that crypto is arriving to update the financial system and will be a mainstream asset class.
Boy, Ripple's slogan these days is it's happening, and it's happening from every corner. And for most of the great, good players in the crypto space, the timing is right now. And special thanks to Diana for posting this, and everyone who's posting these, cutting these videos and putting them on Twitter, X. Thank you so much, because it really is helpful. This is Citi's global head of digital assets, Ryan Rugg, breaks down the bank strategy for tokenized assets at Ripple Swell 2025. Let's hear it.
Our strategy is really three-pronged: build, buy, partner. And if you think about the build, we've been building what's called Citi Token Service the last couple of years, where we've really started to scale over the last year. And really what we're trying to solve for is real-time liquidity and payments, that 24/7, 365 instant movement of money across borders. So we're live in US.
I know a company that specializes in helping people with that.
UK, Hong Kong, and Singapore. We strategically targeted our largest money hubs that have the most amount of friction. We're adding additional currencies and markets later this year, as well as, partnering. Partnering is really important. I've been in this space a decade. There's a lot of great technologies out there and companies out there. We recently announced our partnership with Coinbase, which I think is really important. So, we view this as a new set of rails. And if our institutional clients want to be able to access this market, we want to do it through, building as well as partnerships and in investing. We're a very active investor in this space as well.
Enjoy your conversations at Thanksgiving when your family members and your friends start asking you, how are things going in crypto? And all these years, they've been goofing on us, and now everything is happening all at once. The G Treasury CEO Renette Van Eck at Ripple Swell. Let's dip in and see what he had to say.
The clients there said, "Look, I'm too scared about crypto." And then I said, well, what if we could give you a product that moves your money in minutes? And he immediately connected that to, I have 2 subsidiaries in Europe that are holding 50 million extra cash because they're worried about their payments in 3 or 5 days of settlement. I could free up 50 million and create yield. If you could bring that to me, I'm ready.
It's fantastic. It fills a big need. And for a hedge fund like us to be able to denominate in Ripple and XRP, I just did the same thing, is really, really, really good. When we did our first close, we moved north of $50 million into the company in Ripple and XRP in like 2 seconds, and it cost 30 cents. Now, that is amazing. There's no way to do that with fiat or Bitcoin. There's just no way to do it that fast and that cheaply. And so it serves a really useful need for us. And then also when our LPs eventually redeem, hopefully never, but when they want some of the money back, we just send it in XRP again, and there's no 3-day wait for international wires or 1-day wait for US wires. We're not paying wire fees and all that. It's just, I don't understand why that's hard to understand.
That is, I loved it when Michael Arrington did that from Arrington Capital. I mean, he was the first one we ever heard publicly move that sort of money using XRP, and it was, as he said, 30 cents. I mean, I think it's actually 4/10 of a penny is what it is. But anyway, thanks to the Digital Asset Investor for putting that one together. That was a great clip. This one is interesting. This one is Chris Perkins, managing partner of CoinFund.io. Listen, let's just dip in for a little quick listen on what he had to say.
We also have Ripple Swell coming to New York City, which is their conference. And, it's I think maybe in certain cases I'm contrarian, and I'm not telling you to buy the token or not buy the token. Do your research. I don't care. But the point that I was making is that you really can't sleep on Ripple. They have close to $130 billion in market cap. They're very much on the offense right now. They're looking at they just did a strategic investment in Bitnomial. They're looking to distribute RLUSD, which is their stablecoin. Austin, I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on that. They bought Hidden Road. I've known those guys going back maybe 7-8 years. I forget when they first started at Newmark Ash. And so they've created this ecosystem now that could be formidable if they execute. I don't know if they're going to execute or not, but I'm really curious. I want to go down there. They have a ton of capital, and let's just put it in perspective. If they're at around 130 billion, market cap of CME around 90 last time I checked. Haven't opened it up in the last couple of days. ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, around 90. And so I just see it as a very formidable, organization and institution. And I want to see if they're going to execute with that capital.
Unbelievable. Yeah, everyone's paying attention to Ripple. Everyone's paying attention, and Ripple certainly deserves all the attention they're getting. Thanks to Paul Barron for posting that one. Digital Asset Investor posted this one also, and this is actually a good one.
Transparent about how we think about our holdings of XRP. I mean, we're public with what wallets Ripple controls, and people can track that stuff more readily than other projects. Again, I like to support all projects, so I'm not going to pick on any here, but people have chosen to be more clandestine. And even when I remember being interviewed on a panel years ago, and a fellow CEO asking a question like, well, wait a minute, we do share all this, how about you share this? And he didn't want to share that information. You're kind of like, oh, wait a minute, you can't have it both ways.
We actually own about 13.
The Digital Asset Investor always has the tape, so here it is.
So, but you do sell it regularly, right? Don't you sell it into the market?
Transparent about that. How much do you sell?
When necessary, sure.
And then he went on to say they have internal transparency. I don't know what internal transparency is, but okay. This was also another clip from Swell, and this is BlackRock, and it was Maxwell Stein. Let's listen to this one.
Who owns traditional securities today, right? If you take away the distinction that they're tokenized, that market will come, but in the short term, we need to prove out the utility. And there's two sort of separate segments of users that I think are going to be the earliest adopters here, and we need that market momentum in order to prove the utility to actually get the larger players to eventually come in.
So they are really seeking regulatory clarity. If they have regulatory clarity, they understand the rules of the road, they understand that the rules are there with the investor protection as kind of the North Star, then they can work within those rules. And I think they're all expressing an enormous amount of interest in getting more engaged in the digital asset ecosystem. Obviously, they're doing a lot of work already to tokenize fixed income, tokenize bonds, create stable coins. I mean, you're seeing actually a lot of activity within the banks themselves to get engaged in the ecosystem. But I think to get them really engaged in the markets, there has to be regulatory.
It's awesome that BlackRock is there, and their office is actually like 2 doors down. As Ripple says, it's happening. This was an interesting clip. So Zach Rector caught up with Kevin Maloney, who is the CEO of iTrustCapital, and I fast forwarded to this one part that I wanted you to hear.
Concrete participation this year. Yeah. Now everybody's excited about yield, and you guys just announced yield for Bitcoin and then also staking for Ethereum and Solana. By the way, this can be done in your tax-advantaged or tax-free crypto IRA or in the premium custody account as well. And everybody wants to know on this channel when XRP yield.
It's a priority for us. Part of our meetings here this week are literally to speak about different groups and some due diligence we're doing on potentially participating in some products that we think would be interesting to you, your community, and then of course the $1.5 billion worth of XRP we hold under custody on the platform at iTrustCapital. It's literally our top priority. We need to measure 5 times and cut once. We've met with lots of groups. We've passed on a few concepts and ideas, but I think we're getting close on some things that could be interesting. As a former compliance person, I need to make sure it's reasonable, transparent, safe, less risky than other opportunities we've seen. And then with proper disclosure, we're going to make some things available at some point in the near future, and people can opt in or not.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. And look, you know, with yield comes risk, right? And I know that one of the things that iTrust is they're trying to find the least riskiest way to do it and the safest way for their customers. And if you've got a premium custody account at iTrustCapital, you'll be able to get yield once they offer yield in that account. You'll also be able to do it in your IRA accounts. It'll be fantastic. If you've been thinking about opening up an iTrust account, check my link in the description of this video. And that's it, guys. That's it for the Swell recap. So far, anyway. There'll be more. So I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Always do your own research. If you're still here, you're my peeps. So please subscribe, hit the notification button, share my videos with anyone you think might appreciate them. See you next time. Bye-bye.
You should invest in XRP because...
Not even going to answer that.
We're solving a multi-trillion-dollar problem, and we're making a lot of progress towards that.